Welcome to our Gemara shiur. So we are back to preparing for Pesach. Passover. Passover, it's not over till it's over. So our shiur deals with the Gemaras, is learning the Gemaras of Psachim. We're right now in Daf Vav Amud Aleph in the middle of the wide lines, but because we kind of finished learning the sugiyah of the chametz of a goy in the house of a yid on Pesach through the Gemaras, now we're going to look at the Mishnah Berurah and give a closer look at the Mishnah Berurah and see all kinds of interesting questions and details to do with the goyish chametz that stays in a Jewish home on Pesach. So stay with us now when we move to the Mishnah Berurah swiftly. This year's Leil Nishmas, my dear Choshev father, Oliver Shalom, Menachem ben Akiva, Le'ilu Neshama of Shalom and Tzvi Hirsch, for the quick release of all the hostages, all kinds of hostages, Beruach, Benefesh, Beguf. Yeah, may we all be free before Pesach. The Geula Shlema. Taf Mem, we're restarting Taf Mem, Din Chametz Shelenu Yidu Shuvka Detzali Soil. Yeah, chametz of a non-Jewish person that was deposited by soil. We're going to read again the Mechaber, and then we will go through the Mishnah Berurah's Aleph Beis Gimel Daled. Yeah, any Yehudi shivkid chametz al soil. A non-Jew that deposited his chametz by a Jewish person. Yeah, if the Jewish person is responsible, accepted responsibility for theft or loss, then we say continue the Mechaber a little bit. Whether it's in his house of the Yid or any other place in his domain, in his reshus of the Yid has to get rid of that chametz, although the chametz belongs to the goy, but because the Yid is responsible for it, that falls under the category of Bal Yimotze. Should not be found by you. Bal Yimotze means not only something you own, even something that you owe, even something that you are financially responsible for. Let's go to the Mishnah Berurah Sifkot Aleph. Yeah, Imhu Dichtiv says the Mishnah Berurah, Seor le'imotze bebateichem. Seor should not be found. Seor is what creates the chometz, the yeast. Lo imotze bebateichem should not be found in your houses. Mashma afilu seor eino shelo legamri. Even if the seor is not completely yours, the chometz is not completely yours. Gamkin also min haTorah. It's also min haTorah. Mihu, however, al kol panim ma b'shekibel al v'achrayes ve'achshav akro kishelo l'dei zeh. Only if the Yid accepted achrayes, then it's considered to be his regarding this through accepting achrayes. The pikodon the alma shelo b'achrayes leka isur le'ashois. Pikodon the alma regular pikodon without achrayes. Yeah, in other words, you say, okay, put it over here. Not accepting responsibility. We're going to see the details soon. Exactly what's called accepting, what's not. But let's say it was clear that I'm just about okay with Tim McKenzie leaving his chometz in my dining room. Yeah, risking the marriage over here, but yeah, but I'm not taking responsibility. So then there's no prohibition for me or my wife to keep it over there at home. There's another pasuk. Those of us who've been through the Gemara with us know. Lo yireh lecho is an exclusive pasuk. Your chometz should not be seen in your house. There is a drasha that says you are okay, you're able to see other people's chometz in your house, and we mean goyish chometz. I don't know if we'll have time to discuss another another yid's chometz in your house. That's another discussion. Right now we're talking about a goy because that can also happen. Chai b'achar yusay says the Mishnah Berurah. What do you call chai b'achar yusay? Right? Maybe it's talking about shekibel olav achrayus behege b'konu miyodoi. Wow. There was clear accepting of achrayus with the kinyan. However, you make a kinyan, that's another shaila. It wasn't just me saying, okay, Tim, I'm taking responsibility. There has to be clear kinyan. In other words, we did some kind of act that shows that I'm fully responsible, and it's spoken outright. Otherwise, if I'm looking after an item of a goy, it's not automatically understood that I'm taking responsibility. Which means, when it comes to a yid, yeah, there are opinions in, if I'm not mistaken, in I learned it clearly. I don't remember where, but I do remember that if, according to some people, according to some opinions, if a person comes and tells you, "Can I put this in your house?" and you say, "Yes, you can put it in my house," that could be Kabbalah Shmira. automatically, possibly. But by going, no. A goy, it's only if I fully accepted with a kinyan. Otherwise, I'm not responsible. Here comes the second point we discussed. What about if I did not accept personally achrayus on the chametz? But let's continue Mishnah Berurah. V'im din hamalchus shemischai b'achrayus tefil b'stoma. Let's say, according to the law of the country, wherever they live, whichever country they live in, the law of the country says that if I said yes, you can put it in my house, it automatically means I accept responsibility, even though I didn't. But the law of wherever they live, I don't know, Sweden, I don't know where. If I said yes, you can put it here, it means that yes, if anything happens, I'm responsible. That's how the law system translates it. Even without kinyan, it becomes Rishus of Israel. That reminds us of the story of the Gemara of the Goyish soldiers, right? In Mechuzah, Rava told the Jewish people of Mechuzah, you have Goyish soldiers chametz in your domain, you're fried. You better get rid of it before Pesach or give it back to them or do something. You can't leave it by you. Why? Because with the law of the country, you have to pay whether you like it or not. Okay? Here comes the big story, Gimel. What's B'chol Mokom B'Shusoi? Let's give a little introduction. We spoke yesterday in the Gemara quite at length, but Machlokes Rashi and his group, and Tosfos and their group, and there are two sides to this story. What's the story? Before the Mishnah Berurah, I'm just getting maybe some people in Torah Time were not here yesterday, Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of following now. So now, what's the story? What happens if I tell a person, a goy, put it in any of the corners you'd like, and the goy chose a corner in the house, a room, a corner, a cupboard, a larder, whatever you want to call it, and that goy, we know this is designated for him with or without money. It's either rented out to him or lent out to him, okay? Whatever the case is, and there was big machlokes Rashi Tosfos. Rashi says, if I take responsibility, even though this is like the goy's kind of secluded area, bad news. I'm still responsible. So I don't care it's rented out to the goy or lent out to the goy. At the end of the day, it's my house and I'm responsible. That's bad news, says Rashi and all his friends. Now, says Tosfos, no. Tosfos, and we discussed it this yesterday, says Tosfos, no. Says Tosfos, no. Although I'm responsible, because the place kind of belongs to the goy, not completely rented out to the goy, therefore, says Tosfos, even if I'm responsible for the chametz, I'm okay. In other words, imagine yourself, I'm responsible for the chametz in the goy's house, for the goy's chametz. That could be. Let's say I'm a house sitter for a goy. That could be a guard, a house sitter, a property management. Yeah, the goy is his own chametz in his own house, and I'm responsible. Then it's okay. It's his house, his chametz, right? That's how Tosfos views it. So now let's see, how does the Mishnah Berurah paskin? The Mishnah Berurah is somewhere in the middle. How do you say in English? What's the famous line in English? The famous catchphrase? Yeah, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? That's always true. B'chol makom b'shusay. Zog the heilig gechufetz chaim. First wide line. Va'afilu hiski o isha l'mokom b'fnei atzmoi. Yeah. He lent or rented out a place for the goy separate, b'fnei atzmoi, l'chametzoi, for the whiskey of Mr. Jim Beam, whatever, in his house or the chotzer of the Jew, but that corner is, goyim only. Nami lo mehanim kibal olav achrayus. Mishnah Berurah so far is taking sides with Rashi. If you're responsible, then you, the Jew, the owner of the house, I don't care, you rent it out to him. The kaimal and schius loikanya, as the Gemara said, right? Schius is loikanya. True? Schius really, the fact that it's rented out to Tim does not mean that it's really his. It really belongs to Chaim Yankel. The chametz is real in the house of Israel. In fact, it's rented out to a goy. Bad news. And therefore, if you are responsible, that's bad news. By the way, that's not a problem in most cases. People ask a question, get nervous. A lot of Jews, Baruch Hashem, in America and England, make good money, property manager, or property owner. And what's the story over there? You have property of a Yid, right? He's renting out to a goy, and the goy keeps chametz and Pesach. That's usually not a problem 99% of the time, because the Jew is not responsible for his tenants' whiskey and cakes. I'm saying it's reality. I want to calm people down, right? The shal is if I did take responsibility, then according to Rashi would be a problem. Yeah. So before Pesach, you tell him, I'm not your house sitter, I'm off, a Jewish holiday, not in charge. Mikol Mokoim, oh, however, in halacha, we always have the two sides, lechatchila and b'diavad. Mikol Mokoim b'diavad, im hi she'etz lechometz ad lachar Pesach, let's say the guy did, and he didn't do anything about it, for whichever reason, lachar ma'isa, a posteriori, the chometz did remain there, right? Until after Pesach, yes, rented out to the goy, but yes, under my responsibility. Not good. Lechatchila, we follow Rashi. It's not good to be in such a situation, as we said.
So the heat is over.
יש לסמוך בדיעבד, יש לסמוך על הפויסקים, דסביר להו. The poiskim who hold, you tell me who they are, דסביר לו דאיך שמייחד למוקם לחמייצוי, אין עובר בעלבה אף שקיבל עליו חייס. Oh, that's Tosfos and the Ritva and the Ramban and many, many others. They say no. As long as it was Yichud and the guy has his own corner, although it's in my house, although I did accept responsibility, it's still okay. They believe it's okay. L'chatchila, we, Mishnah Berurah followers, believe it's okay by the Evid. No, so I wouldn't say it's over by the Berurah. I mean, in Shamayim will they punish him? I don't know, the Paskin in Shamayim. But by the Evid, you see enough community can also eat this chometz if the guy allows you. דבעינן שיהיה חומץ מוצאו תחס יודו של ישראל, כי קודם בעלמא, שהוא תחס רשוס לטלטל ולהניח בכל פינה שרויצה. Mishnah Berurah gives us more explanation to Tosfos. When this chometz is in Mackenzie's corner, nobody's allowed to go there, nobody's allowed to go in and out, right? It's his place, right? That is okay. The only not okay, the only bali motzah means when it's motzui. I told you yesterday, what's motzui? Not just fun. What means available. If he doesn't have his own corner, if the goy told me, I'm having a chometz, and I told him, you don't have your own corner, I'm deciding where the chometz goes, here, there, or anywhere, that what would be the case, then I am chayev. Why? Because it's motz, it's available for me, and I have the right to put it wherever I want. I'll put it in the garage or next to the swimming pool. Yeah? Oh, when I have his corner, which is designated to him, big sign, Tim Mackenzie chometz only from that point onwards, and nobody can go there, and I can't move it around, even if people can go there, but I don't have the right to move it back and forth. That is not called motzui. It's not bali motz, and it's okay. And therefore, what's enough kamina, Reb David? Hopefully after Pesach. After Pesach, let's say Mackenzie is so grateful, came back from a nice trip in that Lucia, in the Caribbeans. Now he's giving me some of the whiskey and some of the kosher biscuits. I'm allowed to eat it. I was over. According to Tosfos, I wasn't over. So, but the evidence good enough for us, and I may benefit from the chometz. It's not called chometz over love Pesach. That's a huge enough kamina. Good. So l'chatchila, no. But the evidence, if you did, shine beseder, you can benefit from the chometz.
And not over by
and not over by I assume, yeah, I hope, yeah. Now the yichud, what's called yichud? That's another interesting knech of the Mishnah Berurah. I know this is supposed to be a Gemara shiur, but we're getting, a little bit more halachic over here. What's called designated in place? Saying he's now going to have like a caveat here. Which means this is actually not so much like Rashi. Basically, Tosfos says like this: when we first started the contract, the agreement, I told him, "Listen, Mr. Mackenzie, yeah, this is going to be your room, your house, your garage, your gazebo, whichever area. It's clearly right from the start that's designated for his chometz to be there, stay there, there, yeah." Whether with or without money. That is called miyachad makom, which for Tosfos is a big kula. Yeah? Ava as opposed to what? Aval, but im kibel mimenu pikodon blichud makom. Started on the wrong foot. Let's say you started with the left foot and you told him, no, okay, Jim, wherever. He accepted the pikodon, where will I put it? I don't know. I may move it around from the backyard to the tennis court to the loft. I'll move it. At some happy point, the guy learned the halacha, but too late. And the day before Pesach, he said, now I'm designated my third etik. That would be, the one for the Baal Pikodon, without him knowing. He has no reception in the cruise. He doesn't know, Bichlal. I decided on my own accord, without telling the guy, that one corner will be his. Loy mehani. Uh-oh, it doesn't help. Why not? The shema akum ein chofetz shigmon chachem so el b'shus Yisrael. No, maybe the guy doesn't want. Maybe the guy dafka yes wanted to be b'shus of Yisrael in close contact with me, that I'll be able to move it around. But if it also mechitza gam ken lo mehani. So interesting. So Mishnah Berurah adds a point, right? And that is that the whole agreement has to be right from the beginning, miyuchad dafka for the guy, and then you have the lefitosis at least, with the added at least, you are not over Bali Matzeh because the place is designated, dedicated for him only right from the start, or even later, but by his agreement. He is a side in the story. Yeah, he's a human being. Now, now everyone wants to ask, Dalit. Now, what do you to do? Let's say there's a case where Lakula Alma, I can't keep the goy's chametz in the house, right? Because what was it? He told me put it wherever you want. There was no one place designated for the goy. Even according to Tosfos, that's bad news and accepted responsibility. I want to call him now and say no responsibility. No klita. He's away in a lonely island. Yeah. What do you do? So you're supposed to get rid of it. You know what it's going to look like if you're going to get rid of his beloved whiskey and cookies? Yeah, and he's not going to be happy anymore. He won't be my friendly neighbor anymore from some little town in New Jersey. You know, I don't know. Yeah, what are you going to do? You can't just get rid of it always. Zog the heilige Mishnah Berurah. Chayev. Yeah, look at Dalit. B'shar shigeh zman habiur, im ein akum kan shechzir oloi. If the akum is here to return, you say, I'm sorry, Tim, whatever your name is, yeah, or Chris McKinley, I have to give you back to the dead. This is my religious rights, and you know, right, it's part of the American thing. Yeah, I'm giving you back your whiskey and your cookies, and I can't keep them anymore. Now, let's say he's not around. He's not around and not available. The iman is a bitul mechira k'mo b'chometz shaloi. What would be the easy solution? Do bitul chometz or mechiras chometz. That's what we all do for our chometz. That's a $1 million question. Can I do bitul chometz for Jim's chometz, or can I sell to the Rav? Is going to sell it to Abdallah? Yeah, if I have Jim's chometz by me, that's a question. What do you want to say? No.
It's the same thing.
Yes, there's machronim. It's a machlaikes, surprisingly. Yes, there's machronim, different opinions. The halbemem svirlu deloimani. Many of them say no, it doesn't work. It's not your chometz. It's not your chometz to sell or to be mevatel. It's not yours. However, the halbemem mekilan badovo. I did not see why. I didn't have the time today, unfortunately, to look at inside why. But many people do have the kula. I'm Stefan Sdei. I hope to have time tomorrow to look into it. Bli neder. But there are those achronim who are more lenient and say you can. I don't know why. I admit I don't know why. But lemaisa, some people say yes, you may sell the goys or not sell. Yeah, sell it to another goy. Mackenzie's chometz will be sold through the Rov to McKinley or Mevatel. Here's another takana. Here's a third solution, a third opinion, another solution. Oh, give it as a pikodon to another akum, right? Get what I'm saying? In other words, you yourself don't do the general mechira through the local rabbi. You go to another neighbor, yeah, to Macmillan, and tell him, you know, I'm not depositing, and he's a responsible guy. Yeah, I'm afkid be in your house. Yeah. Or sell. Where is Mackenzie's chometz? Where is it? It's in the loft. Sell the loft to another guy. So either give it as a pikodon or keep it in your house. Mamish, it's not faking it. I can't sell his chometz. I can't be mevatel his chometz according to many achronim, but I am shomer shemos al shomer is a sugiyah in the Gemara, b'vakam daf Yud Aleph and other places. If I am a shomer and there's another shomer as responsible as me, that's okay, right? So I'm giving it to another shomer called who? Called guy, yeah. Or I can sell the area, or I can sell the area of who, wherever his chometz is, to another guy. So now it's not my place. I sold the area, the room itself, the room, yeah, yeah. The other guy will accept the achas, so I'm off the hook. I passed the buck. I passed the bucket to another guy, and it's fine. Or I sold the area once again where the thing is, so it's really not my house. It's not my house. Maybe I'm responsible, but it's mamish not my house. If that house, that room where the chametz is now belongs to goy B, to the second goy, it's fine. The Hanocha and Mishnah Berurah always wants to, obviously, is always to play it safe. The best thing says Mishnah Berurah, I promise I'll listen to you soon. V'anochon shasa shneihem, better to do both. Dan mechiras habayis v'gam mechiras hachometz. If you start with the goy chametz in your house, and again, what's the problem? You start with the goy chametz in your house, and it is not in one designated area. You can't designate. It's not originally, or even if it is, according to Rashi, it doesn't help. But you are a nifkad with a chrayas. You have a chrayas over the goy chametz. That's bad news. L'chatchila, you don't want to be somech b'diavad, right? You want to do the right thing. L'chatchila, what shall you do? Either sell the room, put it in one room, all the chametz of the goy A, there was the owner of the chametz, the real owner, put it in one place and sell the place to another goy, or preferably pass the achrayas, the responsibility to another goy. So I'm off the hook. The discussion now between goy A and goy B. Yes.
Because we're selling the place, you still own the sewage.
It's not much. It's not my house. All right, so I really sold him the loft
Even
for
though
7
it's
days.
not price on it, but it's not a sewage.
Right, very good. Nachon, very good. Even though the price. Levaroi, hey, and I think that I would stop here. It's getting a little bit later. I want to do some Gemara. So now, Levaroi. Let's just do hey, and then we'll go back to the Gemara. You okay with this? Yeah. Levaroi, let's get practical. People want to know what to do. Levaroi, v'im over. I'm investing. I think it's not to accept the deal, but sometimes you have no choice. V'im over, hey, Mishnah Berurah, Rabbi Kiva, Mishnah Berurah. You want to share maybe whatever. Levaroi, v'im over v'lo b'yarav over lo Pesach. Now let's say that he did all the wrong things. What did he do? He accepted the achrayas, did not designate a room, right? Did not give it over the achrayas. So it stays in his house, but the gid has a goy chametz in his house with his responsibility and without a designated corner. Boom. Yeah. So now what?
I mean, you didn't think about it.
He didn't think about it. That's true. He didn't know. V'over lo Pesach, as we all know, chametz over lo Pesach midor also b'achila. Das all poskim the also b'achila ba'ano k'moy chametz shel shlosh over lo Pesach. Wow, you're over bali motze. That's pretty bad. So now it's also b'achila ba'ano. If Mackenzie comes and tells you, "Oh, you're such a great shomer," what?
Was a big shiur?
What do you mean?
How big was the shiur?
Who cares? No. Kazais. Kazais is enough. Kazais, one piece of cake is bad enough. Kazais. So overall of a Pesach, right? Overall of a Pesach, you can't benefit from the whiskey or the cakes or the cookies or the pizza, even if they're kosher. Here comes another question. Now the guy came back after Pesach expecting to find his chametz. Maybe I'm not allowed to give it back to him. Why? Because now I'm nehene from the fact that I can give it back to him and not take money from my own pocket. Get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's a no. Says the Mishnah Berurah, make again. Shall I repeat?
Yeah.
1 minute. I'm not allowed to have hano or achila, right?
Yeah.
From chometz over lova Pesach. If I give it back to Mackenzie and I'm a chroi, then I'm using chometz over lova Pesach, namely his whiskey and his cookie and his frozen pizza. Because if I don't give it back to him, I'll have to fork out the $2,000 worth from my own bank account. So indirectly, I'm neheneh from the chometz. So maybe that's not allowed. Maybe I shouldn't give it back to him. Says, that's at least an issue. He is allowed to give him back the chametz. We don't care about the fact that he's pareh choiv through the goy chametz coming back to the goy. That much we're not machmir. For that indirect no. That's what Mishnah Berurah paskins. ובמוקם לשלוחו שיחזור רק וממכרנו לישראל, ויקוש לישראל בישראל חומץ שלו בפסח, right? יש להם עוד אוסר להחזיר לו, yeah? Okay, which means that he says no. Some people say, wait a second, maybe that guy will sell it on to Jews. He lives in a town in New Jersey somewhere where half the people are Jewish. So maybe he's going to sell it to Eden. Maybe we should be concerned about that. So then we say, yes, less. So some people say, don't give it back to him. Since this is Chometz Shavuot of a Pesach, and Mackenzie.com, who has a bakery, a grocery store, you sell it onwards to Yidden, that could be a problem. So don't give it back to him. Give him cash instead. However, some people are makel the chok Yaakov and Rabba. They're makel bikar din zeh. They're makel in the entire thing. Ladidu lo goz lo chachami b'chomat shol v'Pesach. Elo chametz shel Yisrael v'lo b'chametz shel Yaakov mufkad b'ad Yisrael. Which means some, I think it starts in the Rishonim. Some say that the whole. You have to remember, as I told you, the concept of chametz shavuot of Pesach is the Rabbanon. I don't like to say invention. Rabbanon establishment. Yeah. Rabbanon came up with the idea of chametz shavuot of Pesach to deter people from keeping chametz, right? So how far do Chachamim take the Gzeres? Like this. Some Rishonim and Achronim believe that really the entire business of a goyish chametz that stayed in my house, even illegally, was in my house, in my achrayas, was bad news. I was over Bali Motzeh. Since a goyish chametz, that far Chachamim were not goyzer b'chlal, and therefore you can. He says, Mishnah Berurah, don't rely on them to eat the chametz, but for hana it's good enough. Yeah, they would allow you even to eat it. They say no problem. B'chlal chametz shavuot of Pesach if it's a goyish chametz in a Jewish home. B'chlal doesn't apply. The gzera of chametz shavuot of Pesach. Says Mishnah Berurah, he always likes to play it safe, the big Scottish Chofetz Chaim, and he says at least for hana you can be soymech. So don't munch into those kosher biscuits that are chametz shavuot of Pesach, of a goyish chametz shavuot of Pesach, right? But to have hana is okay, and therefore you can give it back to the guy and no problem. Okay. So I would go back to the Gemara now. We only have 10 minutes or a little bit more till the end of shiur, and we have a whole new, very fascinating sugiyah. Stay with us. We're going now to see another fascinating inyan. Okay, v'omar v'yuda omar Rav. This is very nogea l'halacha. The Gemara, back to the Gemara. Tractate Pesachim. Maseches Psachim Daf Vav Amud Aleph. Psachim. Yeah, 6a. We are in the kind of middle of the wide lines, not the middle. Line starts with the word Mivdal Badili in Shiminei. Mivdal is the first word of the line. This is discussing now what happens. Doesn't happen. It happens by choice. Many people leave their homes for Pesach. And maybe, surprise, sometimes when a person leaves his house early enough before Pesach, he doesn't have to worry about the chametz. Or so it sounds like. You don't have to worry about the chametz. You don't have to do bdika. Maybe you don't have to do bitul. We're going to discuss. What you don't see doesn't hurt you, kind of, which is very surprising. We have to understand it. Conceptually, don't follow this lahalacha yet. We're not yet there yet. But conceptually, we say that sometimes if you leave home way before Pesach even started, then the issue of chametz is not as severe. Let's go. Hamefares or mefaresh, there are two ways to read it. In other words, that's a person who is literally going on a cruise. What's a mefaresh? He's Polish with a boat. He's going with a big ship, a big cruise liner for Pesach. That's not unheard of, yeah. You want to come with my, private cruise liner? Or he goes on a caravan with camels. He goes far away for a long time. Now, before Pesach, if his journey started earlier than 30 days before Pesach, meaning a day or two before Purim, or earlier than that, yeah, the journey started off before 30 days before Pesach, and you don't have to do any bir chametz. Wow. Leave the chametz there, all the shmutz, all the cereals, all the bread, all the pitot, I hope they don't rot, all the whiskeys, no problem. All the frozen pizzas. Well, so this is a statement of Rav. If you leave home within 30 days before Pesach, then you have to take care of your chametz and do bir chametz before you leave. Okay, I'm not going to even explain that because it sounds so bizarre. We're going to see now Machlokes Abaye and Rav how to interpret the Divrei Rav. Omer Abaye. That we said that within 30 days, if he left home between Purim and Pesach, within 30 days before Pesach, and he has to be Mevayer, even that's limited, that's constricted. That's only true. I'm following now Rashi and the Ran, not the Rambam. Yeah, one pshat in the Ran. Daito lachzer on Pesach, meaning the only concern is if you actually intend on coming back in the middle of Pesach, then it's a problem. Why? Middle of Pesach, you're going to come home to a chametz dika home. You're going to, some Rishonim say you're going to see the chametz. You're going to be tempted to eat the chametz, maybe, and you have chametz in your house. And it's too late to be mevatel. You cannot be mevatel chametz on Pesach. Do you know that? On Pesach, from Shosh Shishis onwards, Erev Pesach, the entire Pesach, you can burn chametz, because physically you can burn it. You can't be mevatel it, because it's not yours anymore to be mevatel. Too late. Chametz is not yours. It's only yours to be oiver. It's not yours for anything else. It's also bano. You can't be mafkir something that's not yours. So if you come back, boom, to an open door, you open the door, that's is full of chametz. Oy, oy, oy. That you should be aware of. Wow. If you don't mean to go back during Pesach, you actually want to skip the entire Pesach and come back home after, after the last day of Chag, then you don't have to do anything, even if you leave a few days before Pesach. Can you imagine? So anybody goes to a hotel, to a program on Pesach, according to this, doesn't even have to sell his chametz. It's weird. Yeah, right? In other words, yeah. You leave 3 days before Pesach, come back 3 days after Pesach, even less, no problem. That's what Abai seems to be saying. And if you have any questions on that, don't ask them, because Rav is going to do the job for us. Amal Rove, we have to understand Abai, of course, but Rav is going to reject Abai's words. Amal Rove, what do you mean? The guy wants to come back in the middle of Pesach to a Chometz Dikehom, and you're approving of that? What? I feel Rosh Hashanah Nami. Even if he is living in Rosh Hashanah, what's the kula? Rosh Hashanah is way, way, way before Pesach, literally more than a half a year before Pesach. And you're telling me that he's coming back on Pesach and it's okay? It's never okay. If he wants to come back on Pesach, open the door, Chometz Dikehom, no bitul, too late for bitul, and he may even be tempted to eat it, which is the reason for biur, right? So how can he have any kulas there? Ela Omarove. Therefore, Abai's pshat is rejected. You know that the word Ela always means a rejection of the previous pshat. Rava comes with a new pshat. What does Rava say? Rava's pshat also needs understanding. Let's first read what Rava says. Had the Omar Kodim Shloshim Yom Ein Zokuk Levayim. That we said, the kula part, that if I left home early enough before Purim, namely, before 30 days before Pesach, earlier than that, I don't have to be mevar, and that is true, that I don't have to burn the chametz. That's okay if you want to be back home on Pesach for Pesach, right? In other words, if I have a long absence period from before Purim until after Pesach, then it's okay. Then it's okay to keep the chametz in the house. But if he wants to go back when on Pesach, bad news. That even from Rosh Hashanah, he needs to be mevayer. It's not difficult. Let's just say what Rava says in our own words. Within 30 days to Pesach, you always have to take care of your chametz. There, says Rava, unlike Abaye, no reductions, no cutting corners. If you left home anytime after the festival of Purim, you left home after festival of Odor, mister, you got to take care of your chametz. Bdika, bitul, biur, the works. Yeah, good. How you do it? Another question. Now, what happens if I left home early enough, meaning before Purim, before 30 days before Pesach? Then depends. If I'll come back home on Pesach, during Pesach at some point in Chol HaMoed, bad news. I'm coming home to a Chometz Dikehom. But if I come home after Pesach, and the entire Pesach out of mind, out of sight, out of my radar, then even if the Chometz is in my house, then it's okay because I left home early enough before 30 days before. Of course, that still needs understanding. Let's just focus with the one big kula. So the big kula, the big leniency here is very interesting. I left home early enough, 30 days before Pesach, and that's this side. I'm coming back home late enough after the whole Pesach is over. Then it's okay for me to have chametz in my house because I'm cruising away in in Australia. Of course, that needs understanding. What do you mean? I mean, was a bitul, no bitul, mechitesi? We just learned before, right? Bechol gvulecha. This Gemara needs understanding. The Rishonim and the Chronim are breaking their heads over this, and the Yerushalmi also. We're going to quote Yerushalmi. What are you talking about? What kind of kivyachol hefker is going on over here, right? What do you mean? We all know, and we learned the Makor, Bechol gvulecha. You live in Eretz Yisrael. Give me 1 second. You live in Eretz Yisrael, you have a bakery in Brazil. I don't know what. You have to take care of that. Yes, send somebody there to do bdika biur or whatever, mechiras chametz. Yeah, who cares? I'm not going to be there. What you don't see doesn't hurt you. It doesn't work like that, right? That's a very, very obvious question. I promise there's a very two bomb good answers. But before we give the answer, and also another question is obviously, what's the 30 days about? Who cares? Yeah, why is 30 days before Bichlal a meaningful point in time? That's another question. All these questions will be answered. First, we have to continue a few more lines, which will shed some light. Then Be'ezras Hashem will quote the Ran, yeah, and the Maharshal, and everything will be good. The as the Rav L'taime. You okay, Akiva? Yeah, we're just a little bit
Yeah.
short for time. The as the Rav L'taime. Rav's idea follows his own logic in a different halacha, similar halacha. The Amar Rove. Ha'oise beisai oitzal. What oise beisai oitzal means as follows. Let's say a person, yeah, has chametz, let's say on the floor in the cupboards, yeah. Imagine if the chametz is some kind of bottom area in the house, and on top of that, the person turned his house into a storage room. He fills it with non-chametz chitim or seorim. He filled it with granary. He turned his living quarters into like a granary, like a silo, yeah, and it's full of stuff, and that stuff is more than 3 tefachim high. That's substantial in halacha. And the chametz is basically buried under that stuff, chitim sorim, right? So he created a matzav of burying his chametz. That's not a full solution, but it's a partial solution for having chametz in your house. How does that work? Koidim shloishim yom. If he did that, burying the chametz 30 days before 30 days before Pesach, Ein Zalkuk Levayer. He doesn't have to do any biur chometz. You know why? I'll tell you why. This is easier to understand. You know why? Because it says in Halacha, that's Halacha L'maaseh. Look in the Rambam Shulchan Aruch. Very good. If the chometz is buried and not accessible, then once you did bitul, you don't have to be mevayer. In other words, chometz that's buried, you don't have to start looking for the chometz. Depends if it's sofik or vada. Maybe vada would be a problem, but I'm not going to the details now. But conceptually, if his chometz is buried more than 3 tefachim under the ground, more than lovud, then you have to be mevatel, but not mevayer. Why? We're not choshesh you're going to, remove the thing, and it's removed from you. The whole reason for beer is what? Me come to see and eat it. I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to eat it. It's out of my sight. Yeah, I turned it into a granary. So now, although that's not the ideal way to be mevayer, but if I created the situation of my chametz being hidden and not accessible and not visible, if it's 30 days before Pesach, means not cook levayer. Now let me explain to you why. Because 30 days before Pesach, here comes one answer, is when you have to start taking care of your chametz. If your chametz became inaccessible before your chiv came about, you managed to circumvent it. Yeah? When my chiv to take care of my chametz, which is the 30 days before Pesach, like Sholim V'Dolshim, 30 days before, if the chametz became through the back door, out of my sight, out of my mind, out of my radar, mimela, I don't have to do anything. Because I'm not mevarit, but I don't have to start being mevarit to burn it. Torach 30 yom zokuk levayer. Torach 30 yom he has to. Why? Once you have the chiyuv biur, your chametz is exposed on Purim. You can't now bury it under lots of under lots of schoira. Why? Because the chiyuv biur came upon you, and to bury your chametz is not good biur. If I manage to one-up it, to kill it quick and trick the system, create a matzav of before Mechiyuv came, I managed to get it out of sight by burying it. That's okay. But once Mechiyuv came about, too late, the bell rang already, that's it. Yeah, now you have a chiyuv of biur, and the chiyuv biur you cannot fulfill through burying. It doesn't work. Now, even the solution of 30 days before doesn't always work. Only if you have no intention to clear the oitzar on Pesach. Clearly, if your intention is to uncover it, yeah, and expose it on Pesach, of course it doesn't help. Similar to the guy leaving. I did not answer the questions yet. That's what we have to come tomorrow as well, here and online, because tomorrow we have to find out what's the story with the guy leaving home. He's not home, so what? You're Yid. So what, you're spending your holiday somewhere else? Chametz is in your house, right? True. In your exposed, it's in your house, but not buried. Your house is full of exposed chametz all over, right? Accessible conceptually, yeah. And what's your story? You left early enough before your zman biur came about, and you're coming back late enough. But the your house has exposed chametz in it. Why is that okay?
Yeah.
That's a question of the Rishonim Achronim. We will answer that tomorrow at the beginning of shiur. So stay with us. Come back tomorrow for more. Bezos Hashem will be able to eat min Zvachim and Psachim and have all the Torah sorted out for us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Koyach Godel, to be discussed more. Thank you.
So, because the wife threw him out because he went out of the Masan to